Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Just going to slightly tweak that one because that's zoomed in for some reason. Welcome everyone. Our top story today is going to be a focus on the Royal Rumble. The big surprises, the big names, the big returns that are going to be popping up in and around what is of course one of the biggest events in the WWE. It's always a good one. It's always a good one. Welcome Chris, welcome Liam, welcome Aaron on the TikTok side. We already have 21 people over on YouTube. Be sure to hit those likes. Our top story will be basically detailing who is going to be popping up out of nowhere, who's going to be making a big surprise return, who's going to be the names popping up on the Rumble for the women's and men's side. We're going to talk Chris Masters using Fightful to try and get more attention. We're going to talk about the drama about Hulk Hogan because there always is with Hulk Hogan, there's drama. This week's Twitter drama. Also, as regards Saturday Night Main Event, we're going to talk the current push of Jacob Fatu, where it's coming from and where it's going. We're going to talk about 2K25 and who we're expecting to see on the cover. And finally, we're going to cover the report that Fightful Select have about Tony Khan getting more involved in the AEW booking. We have more details on that one that we can dive into. So be sure to say hi if you're watching on TikTok or on YouTube. Be sure to hit like. We already have 77 on TikTok, 16 on YouTube. So let's jump right in with who we're expecting in the women's Royal Rumble. Thank you very much, proud dad, appreciate that on the TikTok side. So we start with the women's side. Our current Charlotte Flair has already been announced. We were expecting that one, but Becky Lynch is in negotiations to make her appearance at the Royal Rumble. She's already signed a new deal with the WWE, and we're expecting to see her pop up in and around the Royal Rumble, ready for a big WrestleMania match. I do believe that may well be a rematch with Rhea Ripley, but there's other things still currently making the tours. Alexa Bliss is still actively negotiating with a hope of making an appearance at the Royal Rumble, but it does depend on the WWE essentially caving hard to a new contract, which is limited date, a small increase in funding, but also in general a lot of new benefits that will allow her to be a working mother. That's what she's asking for, and I suspect that's going to be something that happens. Nikki Bella is said to be campaigning to make an appearance. She's talking to WWE officials to try and make an appearance in the Royal Rumble, but with John Cena already on the card, it is said to be less likely. It is suggested, and has been suggested a number of times, that John Cena and the WWE have a stronger relationship, and the WWE are not willing to potentially risk that by having Nikki Bella too involved just yet. I don't believe John Cena has been spoken to directly yet about this because he's not been available. Jordynne Grace has been offered a spot. I am expecting to see her in the WWE sooner rather than later. I can see Liam, you saying that Fightful have reported Jordynne Grace has signed a multi-year deal. I can't confirm that at this point in time, but I know that I expected that to be the case. As regards Damage Control, Asuka is not believed to be ready just yet. There are, unfortunately, a few setbacks that have worked against her. Continuing the theme of Damage Control, Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane will both be missing out on the Royal Rumble due to injury, meaning 3/4 of Damage Control will not be involved in the match. Jade Cargill is said to be fit and firing. She is expected to feature in some capacity in the build to WrestleMania, though the Royal Rumble may not be the one. It will be due to not an injury, but creative reasonings. Oh, welcome Spider-Boss. Good to see you, mate. Welcome to the TikTok side. The men's side is still to come, but let's catch up with the chat before we do. Ray says, I'm so happy that the best gimmick is back in AEW in timeless Tony Storm. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Leon. Erin says, hello Tom and chat, hope everyone is well, and I hope so as well. Hope you're good, Erin. Calvin says hello Tom. Dylan Lasagna says hello Tom. Ayush says hi, welcome everybody. Declan says, I'm so excited for the Royal Rumble. Hi Tom, hello mate. Khalid also says, hey Tom. Hey Khalid. Alex has said, Tom, Dr. Featherstone has said he's heard that NXT superstars won't be in the Rumbles. I'm going to wait and see on that one. Since the first Royal Rumble in 2018, NXT superstars have had at least some capacity, some involvement in the Royal Rumbles. Under Triple H, that has not changed, and I expect that to continue. So I would dispute that particular report. Hello, Michael. Good to see you, mate. Error of Penta says, good call on Asuka and not good on Dakota Kai. Lucky she didn't get the belt. This is not a good sign for her pushes going forward. It's unfortunate that the WWE have some serious concerns about the overall level of fitness of Dakota Kai. She seems to be almost constantly recovering from an injury. With this in mind, the WWE are unfortunately simply not confident that they're able to throw her in at the deep end, and if they can't throw her in at the deep end, they're not willing to throw her in at all. 25 likes so far, 78 people on the YouTube side. Be sure to hit that thumbs up as you join the chat. Marcel says, hi Tom and chat, how are you all doing? Well, thank you, Marcel. And Ray says, will we see AJ Lee in the Royal Rumble? I don't expect her. No. This is the time to ask these questions, by the way. If there is anyone who may or may not pop up in a Royal Rumble and you want to know the details, I will share everything I've got. This is the show where we talk about who's going to be in the Royal Rumble. So ask your questions, get the details in there. My TikTok is telling me, try to light up the gift gallery. You can introduce your favorite gift and why you like that gift. I like the penguin. I don't know in the TikTok side. I'm very grateful of the gifts I've got. I'm not going to chase them. What I will say, though, is that YouTube very soon will be monetized again, and we'll be going into 2025 with an intention of monetizing, and all money that comes into the channels via TikTok, via YouTube, will be going back into the channels as well to continue the growth that we've seen. We are this close to 10,000 on YouTube and this close to 1,000 on TikTok. We broke 700 recently, which is a pretty big number. Blue Sky as well, 1,100. This will indeed continue. So thank you everyone for your continued support. Let's keep going. Penta says their new music plan for New Day was last week, but buying them more time to create one. There's discussions about it, but the New Day's music is iconic and I don't see it changing anytime soon. Irish Neat says, I'll be on the floor for the Rumble. Look out for the spoiler warning sign. Wow. That would be the very first one. I'd be very grateful of it, Irish. I'll keep an eye out for you. Thank you kindly for that. Sean says, hi Tom, how are you? Doing well, thank you. Do you see Alexa, Carmella and Becky in the Rumble? I've just gone over the details, so by all means, Sean, just zip it back about 5 minutes and you'll get all the details of who I expect to appear in the Rumble. Just 1 second. Leon says, what did you make of the presentation of Jacob Fatu? More on that shortly. Miguel says, do you think we'll see Mercedes money at AEW Grand Slam? Absolutely. No, Liam, there's no chance I'll be in the Rumble. Spider-Ball says, when do you think we could see Stephanie Vaca win the championship? At some point this year. And I enjoyed the Meltzer video in WTF. I did work hard on that. I'm proud of it. Calvin says, is it only going to be 3 matches on the card? No, plenty more to come. Declan says, can't wait to see Becky Lynch return. Coming soon. Sid says, who do you think will be the last 4 in the men's and women's Rumble? Difficult one when it comes to the women's side. Honestly, I struggle to pick a winner, but I think Becky and Charlotte will both be involved in it. I don't know, I'm kind of leaning Becky on that one. Dad says, big up Tom, any news who the legends could be in the Rumble? I've just gone over the women, so by all means zip back if you'd like the details. Men will be coming in just a moment. Ashley says, will Jordan Gray start in NXT or the main roster? At the moment, to my knowledge, NXT are interested. The TNA deal does move them directly into NXT rather than WWE proper. Cherry Coke has actually not returned. It's not Cherry. It's not Cherry. Sean says, this is from PWInsider. Thank you for sourcing. Liv and Raquel are getting a big push of the tag team heading into Mania. Yeah, WrestleMania has arrived and Liv Morgan is no longer a champion. Telling from the WWE. Liam, I'm expecting 5 matches for the Royal Rumble, the 2 Rumble matches and 3 matches in between. It should be a 4-hour show, roughly. Aled, by all means zip back. As I said, Carmella's name was not in there. Zeno says, hi Tom, welcome Zeno. Roy says, do you think Kevin Owens will win the WWE title? I do not know. Declan says, 6 years ago, Seth and Becky won their Rumbles. Time flies. And they weren't even dating at the time. They were just kind of. Michael says, would you expect WWE to do one of their spring cleanings this year? Yes, but to a much smaller degree. I only expect a couple of names to go, and it will be after a couple of names come up from NXT. It'll be people they're not using. Pardon me, I won't name names. Juan says, hey Tom, do you believe AEW All in Texas will be a flop? WrestleTalk has reported only 11,000 tickets distributed in a 42,000 seat capacity. It depends what you mean by flop. You might not sell all the tickets, but you can still put on a great show. Bailey says, has anyone said if Dakota Kai was in the wrong place and caught that concussion, or did Zoe Stark miss the spot? No blame is on Zoe Stark. I can say that with absolute certainty. As I say, when it comes to Dakota Kai, unfortunately, she has suffered a large number of injuries. The WWE just found it frustrating, as in fact do I. Dad says, could Goldberg be in the Rumble? Could be. I don't see it. Sean says, also for PWInsider, Dakota is confirmed to have a concussion. Thank you for clarifying, Sean. Mick says, there's a story around Kevin Owens' a farewell tour. That's the story at the moment. I suspect he'll sign a deal right after not winning the championship. Declan says, I could see Nikki Bella returning because of her working relationship with Netflix. Cecil says, I believe Toni Storm may be the best character in all of wrestling, but for AEW, she's the only interesting thing they have in my opinion. Just to follow up, thank you very much, Jess. I appreciate you for that. Thank you very kindly. Just to follow up on what you said there, Declan, the Netflix deal has nothing to do with who's going to appear at the Royal Rumble. Netflix have no control over that. Miguel says it was so random seeing Stephanie Vaca losing against Shotzi. Proud Dad says Jacob Fatu is presented as an absolute monster against Braun. I loved it. Spider-Boss says who's writing the promos for the women's division? Liv and Raquel's promo feels awkward. Nobody's writing them word for word under Triple H. People get to say what they feel. Jess to say, Tom, welcome Jess, and thank you once again. 2 gifts so far. Those apparently convert to diamonds, and diamonds convert to money. So thank you very kindly. It's a very generous donation, and I do appreciate it. Any donation on the TikTok side, I'm very grateful for, and I appreciate you for it. When it comes to the YouTube side, you cannot donate at the moment. That should be changing within the week. So where were we? Anthony Phillips says, Jordan Grace signed with WWE. I do believe Fightful have reported that. Yes, I already mentioned I expected it. Mr. Sims says, what match are you looking forward to other than the Royal Rumble? Well, at the moment, it's basically just Rumbles, but I think the Royal Rumble will always be the winner for me. I know you said other than the Royal Rumble, but when it comes to the Royal Rumble event, the only one I really care about is the actual Royal Rumble. TNA Talk says, do you watch TNA? Sometimes, yes. And Liam says, Big E to return. No. Valencia, welcome. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob. Welcome to the show. Always nice to see you. Marcel says, do you see The Rock as number 31? No, because that's not a thing. Aled says, do you think Malachi Black will be in the men's rumble? More on that as we get to the men's in a moment. Penta says, is there any big surprise for men's, or should we not expect it? We'll be getting to that in just a moment once I've caught up with the chat. Kevin says, save Asuka's return for the Raw after Mania. Probably a good shout, but I doubt she's recovered by then as well. Thank you, Proud Dad. That's very generous of you. A penguin, I do like the penguins, so thank you kindly. You've heard me there. You've very much heard me. No TNA, I did not watch TNA Genesis 2025. I tend to focus on WWE, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. Declan says, I know this could be sad. Do you see Dakota Kai released due to her injury? She already was. And then they brought her back. Q says, do you think Ethan Page will be in the Rumble? I think that's a distinct possibility, yes. Valencia says, any chance of a Mandy Rose appearance or return to WWE? There is a chance. There is a chance. Scorpio says, I can guess we can stop watching for the pig now? Nope. Keep watching. They will be back, guys. They will be back. They are putting together a storyline for the Wyatt Six. It's not over. They are putting something together. Watch the pig. Penta says, how much more longer is the transfer window open for? Until a draft. Basically, they're just going to keep going with this to try and correct what they consider to be a few wrongs. Kevin says that's a big downgrade for Liv Morgan. It absolutely is, yes. Ray says, when do you think Ilya Dragunov will return to WWE? I don't think he's fully fit yet. It was a pretty serious injury. Sean says, do you think Stephanie dethroned Fallon Henley? I think that's a distinct possibility, though I do think she'll be competing with Julia at the top. Eric says, good evening, Tom. How are you doing? I would save Asuka's return to Raw the same time Kairi Sane returns. You might be waiting a while. You might be waiting a while. We have 94 people watching on YouTube, 39 likes. One more gets us up to 40. Every time we get a big boost of likes, we also immediately get a big boost of viewers. So if you haven't hit like yet, now is the time to just quickly double check. Make sure you've hit that thumbs up, and that guarantees more people watching this show. If we can get to 100, I'll be very happy. Liam says, Penta in the Rumble, all the face-offs we'll have is getting me excited. But the one I'm more excited for is a Braun Jacob Penta. TNA says, did you see Tessa Blanchard return? Yes. Miguel says, who do you see facing Tiffany at WrestleMania 41? Charlotte. I've been consistent about that the entire time. I expect Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. Interestingly, suddenly I'm starting to hear that from WrestleVotes. 5 months. 5 months. Proud Dad still watching the pig. Liam says, who's going to team with The Miz to face the Wyatts? Who said anyone is? Who said anyone is? Alex says, on January 6th, Roman said his next appearance would be tonight on Raw, then walked into a room with 2K25 in it, but WWE hasn't announced him for the show tonight, so is he going to be there? More on that shortly. I do have news on this. Christopher Leclerc says, I got Bayley or Charlotte Flair winning the Women's Royal Rumble this Saturday. Kevin says, Fightful Selector reported WWE discussed Bianca versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 41. I hope this happens. There are indeed discussions about that. They've had a little bit of a reset. It's why Rhea Ripley is now firmly champion and Liv Morgan has moved out of it. That's obviously important and does have an overall impact because they sort of reshuffled most of WrestleMania. So yes, there are some new options available. The other Mike says, who do you think Penta's first full feud will be? I hope Dominic Mysterio. I think Dominic really helps everyone, so that's an ideal first opponent. Declan is still watching the pig. One says, according to the learning tree, he said Ring of Honor is close to a streaming deal. Things like Ring of Honor has been in limbo, finding someone to take them. According to the learning tree, they've been in limbo from day one. Ray says, what do you think is the best Royal Rumble? I really enjoyed 2019 just as an overall event. 2019's Royal Rumble for me was perfect, top to bottom. Loved it. Zeno says, is Howdy going to be in the men's Rumble? More on that in a moment. And Christopher Leclerc says, Dakota Kai was released and was brought back thanks to Bayley. She was not brought back thanks to Bayley. She was brought back thanks to Triple H, though of course Bayley did have his ear. Liam says, does Charlotte win the Rumble or Becky? I don't know. TNA says, what do you think of Tessa Blanchard's return? Completely unnecessary. Really hurt TNA in my eyes. Liam says, Jade Cargill's surprise appearance, or is she still injured? I did cover that one right at the beginning of the show. Appreciate you, Spider Boss, for that. The Becky news was indeed out there. I've been very open about exactly what is going to happen, and for almost a year now, I've watched the exact beats that I said would happen. It does feel like the time when I said Damian Priest and Io Sky are going to win the briefcases, and here's exactly what's going to happen leading into WrestleMania. And people still say, I guess. Liam says, Tom, honestly now, who's going to stop Fatu in the Rumble? Man's going to be on a rampage. Good. We need people on rampages. Dylan says, will we believe in Joe Hendry this Saturday and at what number? Sean says, it's possible Asuka may not return until the summer. Yeah, or further. Possible. A lot of stuff. Cecil says, I think Roman for the men and Charlotte for the women. Daz just shared the show on X. Thank you, Daz. Appreciate you. Might also be why we've seen a little boost in viewership there. So keep that going, guys. If you can share, I appreciate it. Keeps getting the word out. TNA, when it comes to one good wrestler, there's thousands of good wrestlers. Thousands of them. Being a good wrestler is far from enough. It's not enough. Where was I? Ray says Rhea Ripley teases entering the men's Royal Rumble. Of course she does. She does it every year. Sean says, if Rhea versus Bianca is a plan for Mania, what will Becky be doing at Mania? Okay, so you've asked me to make a guess based on someone else's report that something might happen. Think about it, mate. Noom says, I believe that Asuka's return might be coming back as a singles competitor. She's been in the women's tag division for the past 6 years. That depends, doesn't it? Because if she's still injured, or if there's a risk of injury, tag team wrestling is good for us. Why it happened in the first place. Spiderball says, good to see spoiler warning again. I missed the Twitch streams. Unfortunately, Twitch just isn't an option for us at the moment. But we do have TikTok. Jess says, we've moved past Tessa Blanchard in 2025. I wholeheartedly agree, and I could not care less who she may or may not have made up with. I think we can do to leave her in the past. I don't think it's any benefit to TNA to bring her back. I think it just makes them look amateur. That's my opinion, and I know not everyone agrees. I know that we do have different opinions in here. That is my opinion. Spider-Boss's picks are also Roman and Charlotte. Where was I? Calvin says, I watched a video on YouTube discussing the history of the Kiss My Ass match. What do you think of this match type? Hate it. Unnecessary. No point. No point. Ray says, 2K25 announced an Undertaker version of WWE 2K25. It's starting to steamroll now. The end of January. Every year we start to hear a lot more about it. Alex says, this is from PWInsider. WWE hoping AJ Styles will be fit and ready for the Rumble this Saturday. Nobody has been more wrong on AJ Styles than PWInsider. It's a real blemish on their record, so I don't trust anything they ever say about AJ Styles. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that. Cecil says, just a heads up on January 31st on YouTube, Rob Fee. Boom. Marcel says, do you see Cena versus Joe Hendry happen? It depends. It depends if they're told to. I think it's too late in the day for it, unfortunately. Valencia says, Fightful Select reported the New Day's contracts are expiring soon. Do you have any idea if they'll be offered or sign new deals? They will definitely be offered new deals. I cannot say if they'll sign them. Personally, I think they would be silly not to. Juan says, thoughts on the latching out Deonna Purrazzo has been doing on a usage source Fightful? I don't trust it. I think she's using them. And I'll get to that, well, more on that later. Jess's picks are Roman or Punk and Charlotte or Becky. Spider-Boss says, do you still think Drew wins the world title at WrestleMania? As I say, there's been a reshuffle. I ain't so sure as I was. Liam says, Cena Punk final two, Cena wins. Then Punk wins the chamber to face Gunter and Cena goes to face Cody. Again, TNA, you're entitled to your opinion. And that's as far as I'm going to go on that. I've already said everything I have to say on it. Penta says, have you ever thought about putting your news on Facebook? More exposure and more credit. I've considered it. I do have a Facebook page, but I don't know if it... My experience with Facebook is that it just doesn't go anywhere. You just don't grow on Facebook. So, in my experience, it's not worth it. 110 people now in the room on YouTube. 47 likes. 3 more gets us to 50. Let's hit those buttons. Razar says, I predict Charlotte Flair and Sami Zayn as the Rumble winners. Sami Zayn's a good shout. Kelly, welcome. So I come to Tom for all of my what's going to happen news because he's been the most consistent, especially with the Wyatts. Thank you, Kelly. Welcome, Matter, as well. Sean says, Kevin Nash on his Click This podcast says he's never seen a woman sell like Rhea does. So, well, that's a lie. Cecil clarified, on January 31st, Rob Fee is doing a discussion on YouTube about wrestling character development. It should be very interesting. I think I'll take that out. So it says, Tessa Blanchard cut a promo on last week's TNA, and she's better than Stone Cold. No, she's not. Let's not be silly now. Spider-Boss says, it was funny seeing Sean Rossap and Ibu get exposed on social media last week. Called the Ibu thing, not on Twitter much. What happened with Sap? What happened with Sap? Again, TNA, I've said all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. Juan says, I agree with your opinion, Tom. It's similar to AEW moving mountains just to bring back Punk, only for it to end the way it did. Childish. Mr. Sims is a fan of Tessa Blanchard and is glad she returned to TNA. Counterfeit says, Tom, do you see this year's Women's Rumble having a lot of returns? Since in my opinion, Rumbles don't really have that much returns. Not anymore, not under Triple H, but in this instance, there are a lot of women who are waiting just for a reason to return. And the Royal Rumble, for me, seems a perfect opportunity to throw them back into it. We're talking Charlotte, we're talking Becky, we're talking other people that I have mentioned. There's a lot of women just waiting for their moment, and the Royal Rumble seems to be perfect for it. Declan says, good to have an opinion. I agree with that. Christopher says, if I was doing Women's Royal Rumble match, I'll have Bayley 1 and Roxanne Perez 2. I mean, they've got a feud going. Why not? It's hilarious. TNA says, he's denying Tessa's undeniable. So, she's not undeniable then. That was a dumb thing to say. Spider-Boss says, do you see WWE bringing back the Iconics? They keep wanting to. They keep being pregnant. It's just funny at this point. Oof. Okay, Valencia says, do you have a favourite Royal Rumble moment, Tom? Mine is Mr. Perfect's 2002 return, as he was always one of my faves. For me, personally, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, it's in 2019. It's Becky Lynch walking in. It's that pop. I'm a Becky Lynch fan. I ain't hiding that. Never have, never will. Spider-Boss says, what's next for Solo Sikoa? More on that shortly. Chris says, hot tag that like button. I like it. Ray says, who do you think John Cena's first singles match will be against? I like the look of Bron Breakker for it, personally. Laurie says, hello, Tom. Really like your updates. Thank you, Laurie. Appreciate you for that. Tyler says, hello, Tom. Welcome, Tyler. Wrestler Fan says, will any other matches be added to the Royal Rumble 2025 match card? Yes. My immediate expectation is it will go up to 5 matches, which means at least 2 more. Sean says, what do you think Logan Paul will do tonight on Raw? Pick a fight. I'd love it if Aleister Black kicked him in the face. Just going to say that. Jess says, 2019 Becky was on another level. I wholeheartedly agree. The man was born. Declan says, I wish Becky Lynch NXT Women's Championship reign wasn't so short. They were just killing time. Even while that was happening, I'd already reported she was going to be facing Rhea Ripley and losing. So they were just killing time. Alice says, R-Truth in the Women's Rumble, any possibility? I want to say no, but I can't, and you know this. Andrew Quinn says, good evening, Tom. What a surprise from 2K, dropping a WWE 2K25 Deadman Edition cover of Undertaker. Also, what are the chances of AJ Lee being a surprise entrant? Slim. There's been conversations, just not with her. Spider-Bell says, Mercedes doing the Melina split in the 2022 Women's Rumble was cool. Sadly, not what they were going for. There was supposed to be an in-ring split off, but Melina slipped. Calvin says, I wonder what happened to the Iconics. They were in TNA last time they were seen. Pregnancy, and a lot of it. Thank you, Aled, for clarifying. I still expect 5 matches for the total. Wrestler Fan says, could there be any legend appearances in both Rumble matches? Yes, there could. There always could be. One says, will we have any snacks for the Royal Rumble watch-along? There is not going to be a Royal Rumble watch-along. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I will obviously keep mentioning it because I don't think everyone has been here and recognised that. There is not going to be a Royal Rumble watch party this year. I'm doing something else for it. There is not going to be a Royal Rumble watch party. We will be back in February. We will be having a watch party for WrestleMania. That is all I'm committing to at this time. I'm a parent now. I have to get my beauty sleep. That's all I can really say as regards it. I've got to pick my moments. Alhead says, do not tease me with Aleister Black and Logan Paul. I mean, fair. Sean says, Becky's the reason NXT got their CW deal, right? No. He says, Tony Storm got a big pop when she said timeless Tony Storm is back. It's a popular character. Anyone who says that AEW aren't doing things right, it's ridiculous. They don't do everything right, neither does WWE, but certain things have absolutely done brilliantly, and Timeless Tony Storm is one of them. Tony Storm at this point, you kind of forget she was in WWE because she's been so effective in AEW. Erin is super hyped for the DIY Motor City Machine Guns Best 2 out of 3 Falls match. Spider-Boss says, what do you think about Mercedes' AEW run so far? It's been solid. Matches have been pretty good, opponents have been varied, she hasn't been overused. I think she's done great. Jalen says, if Alexa Bliss does return, will she return normal? PWInsider is saying, if she returns, it won't be with the Wyatts now. Depends what you mean by normal. She doesn't like normal. She's not a fan of it. Razar says, Becky seemed really uninterested last year before she went on a break. She was not uninterested. Sean says, have they ever explained why JBL keeps appearing in TNA? No, and TNA just want people to think he's going to keep doing it. Ray says, Booker T is going to wrestle in his own company. Has been doing for a very long time. Backwards says, sleep is very important. We all need it. We do indeed. Proud Dad says, do you see Black debuting before the Rumble? More on that in just a moment. I'm nearly caught up. Calvin says, with SmackDown being 3 hours, do you see the Hall of Fame being that Thursday night? Not sure on this one. They've not really confirmed anything. Wrestler Fan, just zip back to the beginning of the show. You'll get all the details there. Code Adrenaline says, do you think Becky moves away from the man character? No. She is the man. It's not a character. It's who she is. Jess says, I feel like they dropped the ball majorly on the Becky-Rhea feud. Spider-Boss really wants Bron Breakker spearing Logan Paul. And I am going to move to our next piece. So this is as regards the men's Rumble. On the men's side of the Royal Rumble, for returns, for surprises, it's not a surprise anymore. But the big headline shock return will be the John Cena moment. There won't be a name bigger than John Cena who makes a surprise appearance. Omos also expected to return, though he's essentially expected to do the job while he's there. Pentagon Jr. may not take part due to an intention to keep him looking strong. So it may be that he does something else during, or he simply doesn't appear in the Royal Rumble because they don't want him to look like he's lost something in the build-up to it. Now, as regards Aleister Black, there is still a remote possibility, just a remote possibility, that Aleister Black will officially enter. He has got time to sign a WWE deal. However, there are a number of people who many are interpreting as going to be appearing who very much are not, because they're currently under AEW contract, such as Ricky Starks, who a lot of people are suddenly getting really heavily behind, and Miro. As regards NXT involvement, yes, Joe Hendry is likely to appear in the Royal Rumble. I am very much expecting to see some Joe Hendry in it, as well as, of course, a number of people who work across from TNA. There's a couple of people who've made appearances who are likely to show up, but it will mostly be minor NXT names and major main roster names. TNA, I said my piece. I stopped reading because you kept talking about the thing that I had really nothing else to talk about. If you're talking about different things, I'll start focusing again. So that's what I'm expecting on the men's side. Chris Masters is currently using Fightful in an attempt to go viral on social media and secure some sort of new WWE contract that potentially would include an appearance at the Royal Rumble, but at this point in time, he's looking for something bigger. He's looking for something much bigger, and I don't think he's going to get it. Liam likes the idea of a Roman Reigns and Joe Hendry face-off. Spider Boss, I don't have any news on which brand Alexa Bliss would return on, especially given she's just had a full-scale restart. Andrew says, we all know Tom's watch-alongs is Mania and Raw after Mania, plus Aleister Black being back in WWE would be absolutely incredible. I agree. What I will say, Andrew, this is the first Royal Rumble I haven't covered since I started in 2021. In fact, the first watch-along we did on these channels was the Royal Rumble in 2021. Kelly says, Timeless Tony Storm is amazing. I don't watch AEW, but I do watch Tony's promos and been following her story. Might be worth checking out. Dad says, who's next for Seth? Good question. Difficult one to answer. Very difficult one to answer. It may be that we get him against someone like Kevin Owens again, but I can't see it. We've already been there. So who is there who's a big enough heel to work with Seth Rollins? Just going to throw a name out here. Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu. Just gonna throw that out there. Just gonna throw it out there. Michael says, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling making a comeback in March. I'm aware of Maple Leaf. Sean says, no Elimination Chamber watch either then, right? As I say, I'm expecting to come back in February. I'm probably going to do the Elimination Chamber. I plan to, and then WrestleMania, and then we go from there. Ray says, is Danhausen injured? No, he's just unfortunately in a bit of a tense social situation. Jalen says, who gets booted first, Finn or Dom? Dom. Penta says, any solid plans for Andre Chase? Not solid. A lot of flux at the moment. Marta says, I can say Pat McAfee here. You definitely can. He likes to pop up at Rumbles. He's usually available, and he's, building him up before the season. Backward says, hopefully they push Omos farther than just a Royal Rumble appearance. Yeah, they've got habits of it. They really do. They tend to just have him appear briefly and then vanish again, don't they? Spider-Boss says, I think Roman will win despite Drew trying to ambush him. Jess says, Chris Masters in 2025? I know, right? Spider-Boss says, the Hardys at the Royal Rumble? No, to my knowledge, the WWE just aren't interested. I've said that for a while and they haven't appeared. Liam says, Aleister Black, Jacob Fatu stare down. So much potential feuds for Fatu in this Rumble. Absolutely, there is. Jess says, any update on when the international PLEs, Mexico, etc. will be announced? The WWE have already had a couple of small meetings with the new incoming administration. I expect an announcement will come very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an announcement at the Royal Rumble. Spider-Boss says, who do you see facing Rhea? I know there's talk of Bianca Belair. I know there's talk of other wrestlers. I'm still going Becky myself. Jess, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's not how we do things here. If I get a question multiple times, sometimes I'll say zip back. Sometimes if it's a question that I haven't had like 15 times, I'll answer it. If it's something I've already answered, I'll let you know. If it's something I haven't already answered, I'll answer the question. We like questions here. Keep them going. Spider-Ball suggests that Jacob Fatu is going to turn on Solo Sikoa. Ooh. Sean says, I hope WWE will let Joe Hendry appear in the Rumble with the TNA title. Nietzsche says, Omos versus Oba in the Rumble shortly, but Obafemi over more. That's a really good idea. Oh, that's a really good idea. Chris says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well. Thank you, Chris. Welcome to the show, mate. Calvin says, I can almost see Corey Graves and Pat McAfee entering the men's Rumble match and going at it. Corey Graves does not have a wrestling contract. Just want to point that out. I know that doesn't really mean all that much, but he's been trying to get one and he has not been succeeding. Dad says, I can't believe next will be 20 years since Eddie died and Ray won the Rumble. The other Mike says Seth needs a win at WrestleMania, so I'm thinking maybe Seth as a heel versus Sammy. Does he? Does he need a win? He's Seth freaking Rollins. He could retire now and is a guaranteed Hall of Famer. He doesn't need anything. Doesn't need anything. Sean says Mustafa Ali at the Rumble. WWE have been trying with Mustafa Ali for years now. Years. They're trying hard. Andrew said, do you see any other Bullet Club members joining the likes of Finn, AJ, Luke and Carl in WWE anytime soon? Are Luke and Carl even in WWE anymore? Genuine question. They just never turn up anymore. Never turn up. 113 people watching on YouTube. Haven't quite broken the 120, but we have 57 likes. 3 more gets us to 60, which is a nice round number. If you can, please consider it. On the TikTok side, 6,200 likes. You've all been mashing that button, and I very much appreciate you for it. Spiderboss says, do you think WWE dragged too much the Rhea and Liv rivalry? Yeah, 100%. Liam says, a freeway stare-off, Fatu, Bron and Obafemi. Proud Dad suggests a heel turn for Seth. Personally, I think it's simply too late. He's just too popular. Jess says, I wonder if Kofi's going to do the usual Rumble save moment now that he's a heel. I think he will, and then he'll intentionally screw it up in a way. As in, he'll eliminate someone using it. Cheaply. Aled says, Hendry and Cena could have a stare down in the Rumble. Anyone could have a stare down in the Rumble, just to be clear. I know that we're having dream stare downs right now, but there's going to be stare downs with literally everyone in the Rumble. I mean, we saw Brock Lesnar and Gunter stare down. That's a thing that happened. Spiderboss says, who do you think attacked Jade, Bianca or Naomi? Personally, Bianca. Still on that Bianca train. Chris says, with the amount of star power in both Rumble matches, I'm actually having a hard time picking a Rumble winner for both. You and me both. You and me both. Declan says, Braun versus Seth for the IC title would be awesome. I still think Braun's going to be one of those that Cena's going for. Christopher says, what's next for Lyra Valkyria? Defending championships. Penta says, where is this Don storyline going? Sean Spears seems very scrambled. Couldn't really comment on Sean Spears other than the possibility that he might pop up in a Rumble. And beyond that, when it comes to Dominic Mysterio, you're going to see him as a key part of the show for years to come. Roy says, who do you think will be commentators on 2K25? I want to see Joe Tessitore, my favourite commentator in WWE. There'll be options for almost everyone involved. Pat McAfee has already started recording. Sean says, Seth beat Logan at Mania 39, so he has a recent win. Maggie says, hey Tom, aloha. Aloha to you. Nietzsche says, Gallows is out with a knee injury. Yeah, they always seem to vanish when AJ's not there, but unfortunately, Luke Gallows, things are starting to go wrong for him as well, injury-wise. Bailey says, question Tom, there was a YouTube clip of Imperium and Volta as UK champ. There were 4 members. Who was the 4th and what became of him? I honestly can't remember his name at this point. He picked up a major injury during a Worlds Collide show against Undisputed Era, and we haven't seen him since. Wrestler fan says, AJ Styles going to be coming back at the Royal Rumble? No. Razar says, I Show Speed going to be in the Rumble? No. He's going to be at the Rumble, he's not going to be in the Rumble. Alex says, is Punk on Raw tonight? Haven't seen him advertised anywhere, but I do know Cody has been announced. They're trying to be very open about the idea of, the Alexander Wolf, thank you Irish. I thought it was Alexander, but then I've been watching Traitors recently, the UK version. There's an Alexander in that, and I didn't want to get my wires crossed. Alexander Wolf is correct. Thank you Irish. So yeah, I think they're trying to suggest that people will or won't be popping up. But yeah, Punk I expect to see in most of the shows going forward. Chris is announcing his entry. Kelly also thinks Bianca attacked Jade. They are making it too obvious on Naomi, so I'm sticking with Bianca. Jess says, any news on Bronson Reed? Still injured, will be pushed hard upon his return. The WWE were very happy with his work. Spiderboss says, does Tiffany defend the title at the Rumble? I don't think she will. And says, please Pat McAfee and Joe Tessitore. Declan says, when Becky returns, I could see her in a faction, possibly. I mean, Bayley certainly did that. It really helped her and the people that she was working with. Andrew says, if there's one dream match you'd like to see in the next few Manias, who would your choice be? Also, I want AJ Styles to return with Evil Ways now that TNA and WWE are partners. Difficult. I'd like Punk and Styles. I think we're overdue it. After that, when it comes to dream matches, there's obviously a certain style that I really enjoy. I think Gunter Bron Breakker would be amazing. And I think there's a lot of talent there. I don't know. There's a really good option, pretty much top to bottom. Not sure, Calvin. I've not watched that much NXT recently. Jan says, I think Becky has some unfinished business with Liv and Rhea. I agree. Ray says, did you like Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in the ladder match for the custody of Rey's son Dominic? Yeah, it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. TikTok is telling me to try to grow my team. Try introducing the member badge and letting viewers know they can join your team by sending a heart me if they like your live. Okay. Guys, I don't know what a member badge is. I think I can see Jess having one right now, a little love heart. Viewers, do you know that you can join my team by sending a heart me if they like the live? Cool. Thanks, TikTok. Anyway, Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see Becky going after Liv when Becky returns. If she's going to be in the tag division, that seems unlikely. Penta says, where are they heading with the Tony D'Angelo storyline? Hard to follow. Again, haven't watched that much NXT lately. Couldn't really say. Oh, cool. Jess says, press the orange heart to become a member. Thank you, Jess. I'm glad someone knows what's going on. I'm trying my best. I'm not great. I'm not great. I don't pretend otherwise. Alex says, I thought John Cena was full-time. I still can't see him. Yeah, he lied. I said at the time. He very much lied. Proud Dad, thank you kindly. Another gift sending me tofu. Apparently you're a vegetarian today. Ooh. Thank you very kindly for it. Mattis says, Pat McAfee in-game commentary will make me happy. Chris says, the fourth is Alexander Wolf. As far as where he is now, I'm not sure. He was released after a long-term injury. That's all I can really say. Sean says, do you know of an injury to Tia Hale? I know I've been seeing fans saying she's injured. It's just hearsay, right? I'm not sure on that one. I've not heard anything about an injury to Tia Hale myself. I think that's just rotation. Maggie is sticking with Bianca as the one who attacked Jade. Penta says, the door still open for Odyssey Jones? No. Christopher says, Bayley versus Lara Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Marcel suggests Aleister Black versus Jacob Fatu could be good. Thank you very much, Dan Sharp, for following. We get a notification every time someone follows. We have more than 700 followers now. If you like wrestling news, this is a place to do it on TikTok. Spider-Boss says, do you think fans should stop asking Mercedes about return to WWE? Yeah, it's kind of old. Calvin says, Vicky Guerrero literally got a lot out of Ray's feuds with Eddie and Chavo, one of the goats of authority figures. Ray says, will we see Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch as a tag team in the future? Unlikely. Unlikely. Maggie says, Tom, what did you think of Jesse Ventura's take on the Fatu Braun match? Not entirely sure on that one. I think the Fatu Braun match really stood out. I really enjoyed the concept. If you're going to make someone look good, make them look really good. And certainly that's the case. Next up, let's actually talk about the Hulk Hogan drama, because there's some Hulk Hogan drama, and I just want to make it really clear. Hulk Hogan was never booked for Saturday Night Main Event. I had to go 4 pages deep on Google, past all of the 4 pages of people saying he won't be there, and he left because he was getting booed. Complete guesswork and misinformation, top to bottom. 4 pages worth before I got to the point where I could double check that it was indeed a WrestleVotes report. It wasn't true. Hulk Hogan was never booked for Saturday Night Main Event, even though he was briefly advertised. WrestleVotes reported that he would be there. They were wrong. He was never planned. He was never booked. And the amount of reports saying that he was booked, but he was pulled because he got booed, or that he took his ball and went home, is ridiculous. It's not hard to see who's making this stuff up. And right after a report like this, that's when you really learn. Spider-Boss wants Jacob Fatu as US champion. Jess says, why is there always Hogan drama? Always. Always has been, always will be. The man makes everything about himself. Sean says, looks like they might be doing Seth Carrion next. Carrion was seen in the background watching Seth. Not a bad shout. Karrion Kross could really use that elevation. Chris says, I have an idea for 2K25. I'd like to see different commentary teams for SmackDown, Raw and NXT. That is indeed the plan. Blair says, Tom, what's up? Who is the most underrated member of the NWO? The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He was their mouthpiece. He was fantastic. He gets forgotten in the shuffle. I will say Scott Steiner basically was the only reason it kept going later on, so I'll give him credit too. Jack Burton says, any update on what name was given All-American last week? I don't really understand the question there. Jack, could you clarify for me? Alex says, why was Hogan on all the promotional stuff they aired for the show? Because he's a classic wrestler. It's a classic event. Razar says, I kind of wanted to see Hogan on the show so he could get booed out the building again. Me too. Spider-Boss, I discussed the Britt Baker rumours last time round on the Friday show. To recap it, a lot of it is garbage and a lot of it is one person who's just extremely guilty of spreading garbage. Hey Rabbit, good to see you, mate. Calvin says, what do you think went wrong with Brooke Hogan's music career? Her music was dope. The fact that her music was not dope. Maggie says, Tom, who's your pick for winning the men's and women's rumble? I'm struggling on it this year. I really am. I think Becky's a good shout. I still kind of lean towards Drew. But Punk's right there. Ray says, are WWE interested in signing Rich Swann? Not to my knowledge, no. Dan says, hey mate, just started to ITK. Does that mean in the know? Had the Hounds of Hell said before Fightful? Okay, cool. Good to know, mate. Hells of Hound? Oh, so you're a fellow creator. Gotcha, mate. Good to hear. Spider-Ball says, with no title changes and good matches, Saturday night's main event is a televised live event. Yeah. Brad Dad says, Io Sky could be a dark horse to win the Rumble. Not impossible. Wouldn't hate it. Penta says, is there plans for another Miz faction? There's always plans for a Miz faction. The man likes to give back and that's how he likes to do it. Sean says, I know you don't watch our football in America, Tom, but who's your pick to win the Super Bowl, Chiefs or Eagles? 100% Eagles. Bam says, can we expect the Wyatt 6 this Friday because the Miz is already on SmackDown? I cannot sit here and guarantee anything. There is a storyline being put together. We are going to see the Wyatt 6 soon. Watch the pig. Not sure Jess will announce it in due course. Next up, Jacob Fatu. Now, I did report in last week's show that Jacob Fatu was already being separated from Solo Sikoa for the simple reason that the WWE recognised that they could not ignore him any longer. He was simply impossible, undeniable, and needed a moment to be pushed. This is why Solo Sikoa is now taking a brief break, allowing Jacob Fatu to stand out, to show out, and to make it very clear what he's all about. I have reported months ago now that the third tribal chief after Roman Reigns, after Solo Sikoa, would be Jacob Fatu. He is now moving into that leadership position. This is a dry run, like the first time Chris Jericho did, but also didn't win the WWE Championship. This is the test to see if the fans respond to Jacob Fatu and he's ready to wear the Ulafala. Jacob Fatu, the third tribal chief. The WWE simply believe him to be too compelling to ignore, and Saturday Night Main Event was them simply saying, now's the time, get behind him or don't, it's gonna be a massacre. Spider-Ball says, do you think Liv will turn on Dom at some point? Yeah, no doubt. Maggie says, Tom, I'm struggling too with the Rumble, but Charlotte's in the mix. The men's, who knows, I want Roman to win. Calvin says, Miss is really suffering a lot of karma. Not wrong on that one. Liam, I'm not sure yet. As I say, this is a tester moment, so Fatu's plans for Mania are up in the air. Sean says, I think Damian Priest needed the move to SmackDown, gets him away from Judgment Day and gives him a fresh start. Yeah, he absolutely needed it, absolutely. Ray says, do you think any NXT wrestlers will win any TNA titles and TNA wrestlers will win any NXT titles? No. Just quickly as regards Damian Priest, I did mention a little while back that the plan was, when it comes to Damian Priest, a bit of a reshuffle, a bit of a workaround, a bit of a rebranding. Moving him across is part of that. Calvin says, how can anyone ignore Jacob after how he destroyed Braun on Saturday? Maggie says, I love Jacob, but Roman will always be my only tribal chief. Liam says, is Damian versus Cody in the works after the Rumble? Not really. Dan also suggesting that Karrion Kross might be going after Seth. Bam says, I watched your live about Elon Musk and the new administration of the US. Is that the reason why WWE didn't announce any PLE after WrestleMania? Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. They just want to have some conversations first with the new administration because there are some concerns about them taking money out of the US. Ray, I quite like Joe Testator's work. I'm enjoying it. A quick hit in a segment I'm calling This Week's Twitter Drama. Apparently this week's Twitter drama, after last week's Ibu drama, is Big Daddy Mark. I don't know who that is, but apparently he's creating drama. He's apparently annoyed he didn't get picked to stream from Saturday Night Main Event, and instead we had I Show Speed. Big whoop. And that was this week's Twitter drama. Thank you very much for joining in. Two things left to cover. One on 2K25, one on Tony Khan. Roman Reigns is expected to appear on Raw tonight to announce the new cover of 2K25. This has largely been reported so far by Dave Meltzer. Now, Roman Reigns is expected to be the sole the sole person on the cover of 2K25, though there will be a separate version with a different wrestler on it, primarily a women's wrestler. I'm kind of expecting at this point Charlotte Flair, personally. What I will say is that I'd very much enjoy a front cover featuring Roman Reigns and The Rock to basically appeal to two bloodlines and two generations of fans. Personally, I think that would really connect. Really connect. I'd like it. What can I say? I'd like it. No, Ray, I'm not a fan of that at all. Jack says, Dirty Dom gave Chad Gable a name last week because of his troubles with Penta Zero. Any word on who that name was? Bit black. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, Maggie? Bam Bam says, do you maybe know when that conversation with the new administration are about to happen? I don't have sources within the administration, so I definitely can't say. As regards to WWE, the conversations are ongoing. It's not a case of there'll be one conversation and then they'll know. The conversations are ongoing and the administration is still being built. Alex says, is Roman expected there in person or as a pre-taped video? All I know is that he's going to be appearing. As I say, Meltzer is the guy reporting this primarily. Yes, Dan, I can confirm that. I was reporting that Roman would be drafted across about 5 months ago. I just expected it to be after WrestleMania. Maggie says, Tom, you made my night saying Roman's on. Roman's so handsome he could grace any cover. Ray says, the dream for me would be Charlotte Flair versus Tessa Blanchard. No. And Fightful Selective reported that Tony Khan is, and I quote, in the weeds more when it comes to the creative teams on AEW. I can confirm this to be true, and I can also add that Tony Khan set up a creative team around the time that Mercedes Money joined AEW. He created this creative team to do creative for him, and since then, he's been consistently and constantly accused of interfering and undermining their efforts. This, of course, naturally makes the situation difficult for that creative team. And that is all the news that we have. Thank you very much for everyone who's jumped in, joined in, said hi. We peaked on the YouTube side at 117 viewers, a very nice number. Over on the TikTok side, we got up to 13, which, considering we've only just started doing TikTok, is a great number as well. I want to say a quick thank you to all of you for joining. We'll be back live on Friday. YouTube may well be monetized once again by then. Thank you for everyone gifting on TikTok. I very much appreciate it. Until then, as always, I'll say I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.